If you were to do a prediction for the rest of the year, what's on your bingo card?
I think we're going to be rolling like so many more agents in like day-to-day life. I think we're just going to see like token consumption go up. My mom's asking me about OpenClaw now. It's really exciting to see like a lot of people just start playing with like models and feel the AGI, I guess.
We have a guest, Ivan from DeepMind.
Welcome to the show, dude.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks for being here.
No, I mean, like, thanks for having me. I think I've been a big fan of Mastra and what you guys are doing. I think it's become incredibly like exciting, especially in the space of building agents. And I think like TypeScript has just been a language that's just perfect for it. And so, yeah, really excited to be here.
Awesome. Now, I know you came with a schedule of things that you wanted to share today. And before we get into that, because that thing is dope, by the way, the list that we're going to get through, can you give the audience a little background about who you are? How'd you get to DeepMind, where you're from, which is interesting?
I started out with open source, actually. And so that was kind of how I started playing around with language models with a Python package called Instructor, where I think back then the problem wasn't that it was difficult to build agents, it was that it was difficult to work with language models reliably. And so that was my first foray into like language models, where I wanted to make it easy for people to basically be able to build applications on language models. And so I was a core contributor to a package called Instructor. Fast forward like a year after that, I joined a startup called Manus, where we were building knowledge agents that were basically automating a lot of this knowledge work. Let's say you're a venture capital, like VC investor, you're a PE fund, you're a consultant. A lot of your job is trying to make sense of data, trying to understand, like, I get this question, I'm trying to invest in this company. And so a lot of your job is trying to make sense of the information that's out there, pull it from related sources, put it together in nice PowerPoints, or just, at the end, create an interactive visualization. And so I was there from, I think, when they first moved to Singapore. And I was there all the way until they finally got acquired by Meta. And it was really exciting. I think I joined at a really great time. The team was great. Every night we were pushing like great features and we were pushing like state of the art. When I was kind of deciding whether or not to go to Meta, I was fortunate enough to get an offer from DeepMind to join the developer experience team. I ended up deciding to take that offer. And it's been really exciting since. I think my job is just to try to figure out how to make it easier for people to build on Gemini. It's a great model. And so that kind of is like the background of how I ended up all the way from Singapore to San Francisco.
Welcome to the community.
It's a nice place though. I've been very surprised by how friendly people are in San Francisco and how open and like I think people are to just discussing very technical concepts, and everyone's working on something very exciting.
They're more friendly to you if you have credits to give too. Just so you know.
We're working on that. I think maybe we can do a Mastra and DeepMind hackathon. I think that'll
for
be
sure.
Yeah, we should do that for sure.
So big event happened, 2 weeks ago, I/O. All the bells and whistles were out. Could you give us like a little recap of that?
I/O is, if you're not familiar, it's Google's annual flagship conference where, we announce all of the different product launches. For me, I think like this was the first time I actually saw I/O. And being there in person, seeing like the huge sort of venue and scale that it is was like just really like mind-boggling. So you have everyone from like Waymo to the guys doing Android to the guys who like doing the Genie models, and like us who are like working on the API and the models at DeepMind. Like it's just pretty incredible to see how far like everyone's kind of pushing the boundaries. For me this year, it was the first time I worked on a product and we launched it. It was called Gemini Managed Agents. And so what it makes it possible for you to do is that you can basically use the Antigravity harness in your own applications. We give you a sandbox out of the box and you can basically get it to do whatever you need to do. But it was really exciting to kind of see like a product that I worked from like start to finish, launch it, and then we had a new model. And then just the general love, I guess, for everyone across all of our different products. I think the overall token volume is something like 3.2 quadrillion tokens this month, which is, I never expected to hear a number that big. I think like there were two things that were really like interesting to me that stood out initially at the initial keynote. One is that, of course, outside, like you're seeing this huge consolidation whereby in every single Google product, now Gemini is being used. I don't know if you guys have tried like Ask Maps, where you can actually talk to Gemini within Maps. It's my favorite feature. Like when I'm worrying about like, hey, today I'm really hungry, what do I eat around me? I can just ask Gemini, or hey, I want to grab coffee with someone. Like where do I go in between us? Like it's just been really cool to see Gemini being embedded in a lot more of these applications. But also I think the really exciting part is like joining DeepMind. It's very different when you see it from the outside and the inside, because when you go in, you see like, I know there was this post that went viral where Stevie Agay was like, hey, DeepMind is cooked or something like that. And then it was like no one's using AI coding and stuff. But it's actually incredible because internally, I think the amount of tokens we're consuming is doubling like every few weeks. I think it was something like I think we shared some internal numbers, but I think from the time that we announced that number, it's like kind of doubled in like 3 weeks since then, and it's only gone up. Like we're really trying to push on all fronts, and it's just been really exciting to see and work alongside the people training the models, building the applications, and also now trying to make sure it's easy for people, builders who are using frameworks like Mastra, for example, to just be out there and use it.
It's so cool seeing Gemini in all the surface areas that you use every day. Like I was using Gemini in search, which then linked to maps. Then I was in maps and I was asking Gemini in there as well. Our team especially, we stopped doing Google search and we would just go straight to ChatGPT, right, for search. But now you can just go back to Google search and you can get the same kind of experience right at the top, right? And it's so cool to see Gemini everywhere now. They're all like underdogs.
I definitely feel like Google search is more back into my daily routine, where it kind of dropped off. At least some of it had dropped off a bit, but it feels back mostly to me.
I think so. It's actually quite interesting to me. Like I think if you asked me 2 years ago, like what was going to happen to search engines like Google, like I would have been like, oh, I'm just going to talk to like Gemini or like ChatGPT, and I'm never going to use the search engine again. But it's almost like the more you ask questions, the more things you want to explore, and then you end up like really diving really deep. And I think like AI mode has actually been something I enjoyed a lot. There were some really cool demos I saw at I/O where they chatted with like on Google search, where I was like, hey, I'm interested to find about black holes. And then actually created a whole canvas out of the box, and it's like, oh, you could interact with it. And I'm quite excited to hopefully be on the way, like to be able to use that.
So is Antigravity the new, like that's where everything's going through, not Gemini CLI, right?
Yeah, so I think right now what we're seeing is like there's a lot of consolidation. So we have the Antigravity CLI, which I think is going to be maintained a lot more. There's the Antigravity application, which is, the sort of, I guess, the single application you can interact with. You don't need to see the IDE. I think there's a lot more people are kind of being comfortable working with models without having to expect every line of code. That becomes like a go-to. And then you have the Antigravity IDE, which is the original VS Code fork that they started with, and then they forked it out. It is a little confusing. I think, there's so many things that are happening all the time, but that's been really exciting. I mean, I think like for me, it's been like something that I've been using like a lot. But for me, I think one of my favorite like new launches has been like Omni. Do you guys follow this Twitter account called like Foffer?
No, we should.
Foffer is someone on our team, Foffer AI, Fofr AI. He's a prompt engineer on our team. He works a lot on the generative media side, and you can see like he uploads like a lot of different basically like videos of what Omni is doing. One of my favorite demos, let me scroll down to find it. One really cool one is just like you can see over here, Google I/O. He like replaced it with the Xbox like kind of like screen. First Google I/O 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then there were another bunch of launches where he took his feed and there's a guy walking down from it. All right, and I think the one that I thought was really cute was this one. So we have these, I don't know if you have these in your offices where you have like a little...
The bevy?
yeah. It's the one that gives you like a carbonated water. And you can kind of choose what you want, but he made it into like one that spits out like rabbits. And then I thought like the cool one, let me try to scroll it down a little bit more, was basically we have this podcast called Release Notes. So this is Release Notes. It's a really serious podcast where normally we showcase like people talking, like we talk about the new stuff that we've launched, and you can see how Omni is able to splice in these like edits in a very natural way. I would love to have shown the audio. It's not working for some reason. You can see like Logan with like, the giant potted plant, and then you can see like, everyone with like the spaghetti.
Yeah, the spaghetti test is always, I just remember a couple years ago, it was such a mess to try to get any video to show eating, especially spaghetti, and now it handles it so much better.
And now Michael Jordan can be eating spaghetti for real.
I think it's time to find a new benchmark, And I think the biggest part was actually this was a Omni video that we launched. Like initially we did a launch video where Logan said like Gemini, and this was actually created by Omni. And so the really cool part of Omni is that it's kind of like Nano Banana for video. You can describe the edits that you want in natural language, and it'll kind of like cut and splice around it, which is really cool. And that and the new Flash 3.5 model. I have a few demos that I prepared ahead of time if you want to see like what I created with Flash 3.5.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
the audience loves to see demos.
So like you can see over here, like this is like a Windows XP kind of like a clone that I got what is essentially 3.5 to do. It one-shot this in like Antigravity. So these are like websites that I've created ahead of time that are hosted on like Convex. And so you can see like this Clippy over here, like talking to you. It's moving. All these frames are like created by like Nano Banana. There's a Tamagotchi over here. Let me zoom in on it. And you can see like basically all these frames are kind of being like cycled through. And then this is for me just a simple like habit app, but it's like been really fun to like vibe code and build a lot of these. I think 3.5 is just a really creative model, and it's been fun to just like be able to do this. I've heard there's like a test where you kind of like are able to close this window all the way here, and it should work. But I think I need to tune this a bit more. But yeah, it's just been like vibe coding a lot of these like simpler apps, and they've been like really fun to do.
That's awesome. Which anti-gravity product were you using?
I was using Antigravity IDE because I still like to look at the code. Yeah. But I think I've been slowly migrating over to the new like anti-gravity, like the one that you don't look at the code, just the normal anti-gravity app. Yeah, I don't know. I think like for me, like AGI was when I used Flash 3.5 to buy everything for my new room. Like I just give it like a browser tool and it's just like go on Amazon, buy it for me. And it bought like a new like monitor stand. It bought like a bunch of like lights. It bought like a smart plug. And I'm like, I love it.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Do you have a demo of the managed agents?
Yeah, I think I did a bunch of like demos over here. So what I did is I got it to basically create like a podcast about Mastra. So
Cool.
the way it works is that if we load it from scratch, you can basically give it like a topic or creative outline. So for example, you can say like, write me a short script about the Mastra team and what the framework that they created does. And if you generate this, it's going to boot up a agent in its own sandbox, and this agent runs the full anti-gravity harness. You can add in additional skills. We'll have support for custom tool calls at some point. And right now, like this, you can see like the sandbox is pretty snappy, and it's actually persistent by default. And so whatever you install on it, whatever you save on the sandbox, you can kind of go back to it at some point. If you switch back over here, like you get a very nice podcast.
And unfortunately, I don't think we can hear the audio.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can be sure, but you can see like this is kind of just using our own like native TTS model, and so like it's going back and forth. It's talking about Mastra. I did some web searches about you, and then from there like it's able to put together this NotebookLM clone. I never tried NotebookLM until like a week ago, and I've been using it like on the go, and so I kind of want to replicate it for my own stuff because I don't want to log into the app and get it there. So I was just like, oh, let me create something with this agent.
Yeah, I was going to say, it reminds me of NotebookLM, and you just, quickly built it, which is awesome.
Yeah, so you can do it all with like a very simple like API call, but I think like definitely when you want like a bit more control, like then you got to fall back to a framework like Mastra and you want to use other models. But I think it's just a pretty exciting thing just to be able to take a whole product from like the initial like, hey, I'm trying this is a new product launching, to take it all the way to IO and have it there. So yeah, it's just been like pretty exciting over there. Yeah. Have you guys been able to try the new like Flash 3.5 model, etc.?
Well, we signed an NDA, so maybe I'm not allowed to talk about it. I think mostly for us, we want to use like for internal use. We're like trying to do things that max on Sui Bench, right? And I feel like Gemini's never talked about as a coding model, or at least that good of a coding model. What would you say to that, I guess, being from DeepMind?
With regards to like Gemini not being a coding model, I think like for me, I've often been very surprised at like the kind of creative solutions that Gemini gives me. So for example, I was working with some like Python scripts, and when I used like Opus and I used like GPT, they suggested you got to rip out all the code you have. You need to install this new library. Then it's going to work as a CLI agent that you built. But I think Gemini suggested a very good like integration that in just like 3 lines was able to solve my problem. And so I would say that a lot of times, like when it comes to like coding agents, I think like Gemini 3.5 Flash is a incredibly capable model. We do have a pro model that's, we're testing and training, and we're going to ship like when it's ready. A lot of times, I think you just need to get used to the model. This is, I think, a model that we've been intensely dog fooding. So like internally, tons of developers have been trying it. We've been getting feedback. And I think now that we have the model out there, we're getting feedback from users, we're putting it in frameworks like Mastra. We're trying things like open code. We're trying to do it with like OpenClaw. As we get more like feedback, and we know like what are the evaluations that, we're not doing very well. And, if we're able to reproduce them, I'm very confident in the DeepMind team. I think we have like one of the strongest research teams around. And so I think a lot of it is just we want to basically get more feedback on people on how this model is doing, and then it helps shape our roadmap, how we can train better models. Because this is a model that we've been intensely dogfooding ourselves.
My initial reaction is like 3.5 is really good at front end, while GPT 5.5 is very bad. Those are like the type of use cases like you can start seeing, because you really have to get to know the model when you switch to a new one. I mean, I think everyone's been Opus pilled for a long time, so they kind of don't know how to interact with other models. Even us internally, we're switching to like 5.5, and people notice like the temperament of the model changes immediately. What they expect in like the dialogue changes. But we'll be trying it out deeply, and we'll give you some good feedback for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I would love to know like how you guys are like how you guys find it, where are some of the issues that it's not doing so well. Yeah, I think like it helps us a lot in trying to shape our roadmap to see like how we can train the next generation of models. I mean, like Aiyer was just like this intense sort of like experience leading up to it. I think like everyone was kind of working towards Aiyer as a goal, and like now that it's out, I'm just like, oof, like it's just really exciting to see your products out there. Like people are using the stuff that you ship, and you're just like, oh, it makes you feel very good about it.
That's awesome. So let's wrap it up on one last question I have for you. If you were to do a prediction for the rest of the year, what would you predict in the AI community, AI space? Like what's one prediction? What's on your bingo card that you want to see checked off?
I think we're going to be rolling like so many more agents in like day-to-day life. I think we're just going to see like token consumption go up. Like I would love to see like more people building agents. Everyone's rolling like different frameworks. The Mastra's one, like we have managed agents, but I think like it's just going to empower so many people to build automations and agents for day-to-day life. And so I think like that's something I feel like you're going to see not just in the tech community, but like in people that are just traditionally non-technical. My mom's asking me about OpenClaw now. She's like, hey, what's this OpenClaw thing? People keep forwarding it to me. I'm like, oh, let me walk you through it, right? And I think it's just like, it's really exciting to see like a lot of people just start playing with like models and feel the AGI, I guess. I think like that's my prediction. That like you see a lot more people, it's just going to be so normalized to just build and deploy so many more agents. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Ivan. This was awesome. Thanks for walking us through everything. We'd love to have you on the show again in the future. Maybe after the next model release or any exciting things that you ever want to come and announce here. Floor is yours whenever you want.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
And what's the best way for people to see what you're doing, follow the DeepMind team? What do you recommend?
I'm on Twitter at IvanLeoMK, IVANLEOMK. So that's probably like the easiest way to reach out to me. I read every Twitter message that I can. And I think for us, like we're very happy to hear like feedback and like how we can do better or how we're doing great. So
yeah, everyone go give Ivan a follow. And yeah, we'll see you around, dude.
Yeah, see you around, man. Take care.
Would you like to be a guest on the show? Visit mastra.ai/guest. Do you have a hot take, a problem you cracked, a cool product, or a demo worth watching? Share them right here on Agents Hour.